too far for me. Good afternoon, everyone. We shall start the meeting. We have confirmation of quorum. We're going to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are located on the traditional territory of the Lakota people. Adoption of public agenda. Director Wally, Director Davis, for a second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. Petition and delegations. We have Sarah, Willie, we have Vivian Cho, and we have Mark Rutten online, I believe. Please, come on up, grab a seat. Vivian, you can grab a seat as well if you like.
Thank you through CAO to the chair. Thanks very much for having us here. My name is Sarah Willie. I'm the manager of planning and policy development with Comox Strathcona Waste Management. I think I know most of the faces in this room, which is really great. Yeah, that's right, I did. Yeah, and so I apologize for those for whom this presentation may be a repeat if we've visited your municipality already, but we did want to get in front of the electoral area directors, and then of course some of you may have missed it. So I'm joined today by Vivian Shaw. She's the senior manager of Comox Strathcona Waste Management, and as the chair mentioned, Mark Rutten is joining us online, who's the general manager of engineering. So we wanted to bring to your attention, sorry, I'm just gonna move this a little bit more. Hopefully I'm not upsetting Betty. Okay. Bring to your attention the work that we've been doing on the solid waste management plan renewal, so that we're not bringing you guys in at the last minute. It's been an ongoing process, almost 2 years in now, so there's been a lot of work that's been done, that's been brought to the CSWM board, Comox Strathcona Waste Management Board, but not necessarily back to this board. So for anyone not familiar, there was one regional district, there is now two, and as part of that separation, waste and hospitals were kept together. So our service exists for what I believe to be cost effectiveness and efficiency in service delivery, and as a result, we operate the service from the CVRD office, but it of course overlaps with all of the SRD area, and we support solid waste management in those communities, both on the west coast, the islands, and the north here. So it definitely is a unique situation across the province. Our solid waste management plan is really the long-term vision. It's trying to raise our heads up from our day-to-day and our operational needs. And, you know, definitely with the smaller communities and smaller regional districts, you know, that wasn't a big priority back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. So it's was brought in the 90s by the province, and it's really looking at, you know, what is that cost to deliver the service? Our service, you know, had low tip fees for a long time, and as a result, in order to close our landfills and, you know, establish new engineered landfills, we had to take on significant debt as part of our last 10-year plan. And so it's things like that that I think are a great example of why these plans are necessary, and why the province asks us to do them. So 2012, 2013 was our last plan. And we're moving forward with a renewal, not a complete, you know, throw it out the window approach. So as I mentioned, these are required by the province. 10 years is their suggested timeline for renewal, and we think it's a good time for us as well. So some of the major things that we accomplished in our last plan were the closure of the Campbell River landfill and movement to a full transfer station there. We have landfill gas capture that's underway now. We constructed the organics facility that's adjacent to the Campbell River landfill and is now receiving food and yard waste from the city of Campbell River, as well as the 3 municipalities in the Comox Valley, and we're looking forward to being able to expand that to other users as well. So those are 2 major milestones up here, and then at the Comox Valley Waste Management Center in Cumberland, we also closed the Pigeon Lake landfill, which was the old attenuating landfill, and we established the leachate plant as well as our engineered landfill, both cell 1 and cell 2. So it's been a very capital intensive time for us, and we think we're in a good place now to really look forward and look more at some of the policies and programs that we can use to support diversion going forward. And certainly the communities have been changing. So you experienced that as well. COVID was something no one could have anticipated, and there's been a resulting population growth as well as maybe a change in expectations from community members as those have moved in from outside our local area. Ultimately, we want to reduce waste. The province is looking for us to achieve 350 kilograms per person. That number's been, approached and achieved by some of our neighboring jurisdictions. We've hovered around that 551 mark for a number of years, and we're looking at ways that we can improve that. So overall, we're managing about 65,000 tons a year of garbage, and then significantly quantities of recycling as well. So that would be the wood waste and the drywall and the metal that really add those tons, but by volume, a lot of plastics as well. On the greenhouse gas emission side, as I mentioned, the biggest reduction that we've undertaken in the last little while has been the closure and landfill gas capture of the 2 landfills that we have in Campbell River and Pigeon Lake landfill. And we're pursuing beneficial use options for the Comox landfill gas. And for Campbell River, we've got a grant from the FCM to consider a feasibility study for beneficial use for the closed landfill. It's a difficult business case with waste or with gas quantities constantly decreasing, but that's something that we're pursuing. We have a emissions inventory that's coming forward to the board soon. But as a landfill, all of our residents, all of our businesses are contributing to the waste that's in those facilities, and those are significant generators of methane gas and subsequently significant generators of greenhouse gases as point sources within our communities. This next slide, I feel like my joke is getting old, but it's an eye test, and I'm sorry, but it's in your package, so you can study it in greater detail. But the point we want to get across is that it's a slow evolution. Reading through the different plans over the time, it's incremental change that we've really seen that's gotten us to where we are now. So whether it was, the introduction of blue box recycling back in the day, the expansion of extended producer responsibility programs for recycling things like electronics and light bulbs, to the takeover of blue box recycling, the changes in environmental controls that happened with the landfill criteria being revised in 2016. These things have not all happened overnight. So that's kind of where we're at now is, what's the next step forward, not necessarily the next leap forward. Sphere of influence, this one, is a bit unique in our jurisdiction because of this letters patent requirement that the service be served as one. But we do want to reflect for our municipal partners, because we're presenting to each of them as well, that the importance that they play within the system, the residential collection and the IC&I, and certainly in the construction demolition realm, the importance of building and demolition permits and how they can impact our waste quantities going forward. So we work closely with the staff here at the SRD on some of the services that are provided to residents here, whether in Sayward or Cortez, to make sure that we're all working together collaboratively, as well as the municipalities. So getting back to the point, because I know I've veered off a little bit here, the solid waste management plan. So we started back in 2022 in July and initiated that process. And we're now just we finished step 2 and we're in step 3 here, evaluating options. So we've been bringing forward strategies and technical memos to the advisory group as well as the board. And we'll be looking to do that for the next year, completing that process next year. And then we'll be looking to develop a draft plan that will come forward and we hope to submit in early 2026. So it's definitely still a long road ahead. So there'll be lots of input from yourselves, from your residents, from your communities. But yeah, it's been a process. So just to highlight a few of those, for step 1 initiation, we recruited the Regional Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And those committee members have been meeting regularly. We've had 10 or 11 meetings now, 2 to 4 hours each. They've really committed to the process of diving in deep into the waste. And we've really benefited from having the different voices at the table. So I do want to thank, the participation of SRD staff members. Sheena Fisher and Ashley Millwood have been wonderful. Wolfgang Parada has also been able to participate intermittently. We have the chair of the SRD board and the vice chair who are supporting through the elected official role. Madison Stewart actually joined us as a resident before becoming a staff member here, based, her considerable knowledge in the food recovery area and as a resident of Area D, so she continues to participate. We also have residents from Sayward, Cortez Island, Campbell River. We have 3 residents, and they represent areas of expertise in multifamily, repair, and the aquaculture industry. And then on our technical side, we have 15 public members, and we also have a space for staff from municipalities and other to participate. And we're grateful for the contributions from Tassis and Campbell River on the technical side. And we do have one more spot available if anyone feels their staff member has capacity to participate. We'd be grateful for that. And we're happy to say that, we have had some First Nations participation from Muchalat and Azar and Roberta Savvy, the housing manager, have been able to participate in some of our advisory meetings, which has been great. So we're really diving in with them into the details. We started with a survey of experiences with garbage and recycling. We had about 1,100 responses from residents, and we were asking them, what's your level of satisfaction with the services that you have now, and what might we be able to do to improve on that. So I've just highlighted a few responses for the group here. Again, emphasizing that we'll be visiting each of the municipalities with this same presentation. I thought it relevant to exclude Campbell River so that those numbers wouldn't kind of dwarf the residents of your rural areas. So we had 169 responses from Strathcona Regional District residents outside of Campbell River. And this particular part of the survey was around how willing and able are you to take the following actions to increase your waste diversion. So it contrasts community composting or personal composting with going to a recycling depot, with participating in, separation and diversion of construction materials. So I think, the composting certainly received the most willingness. And I think, interestingly, the depot is not as strong as even the composting. So it just shows some barriers that we have, in terms of getting people to do the right thing when it comes to depots, and, how can we improve that accessibility and convenience in order to make that an easier thing for people to do. In step 2, we went out with our goals and guiding principles. So we have 6 goals and 8 guiding principles, and I don't want to overwhelm you, so this is my plug for our Engage page, which is at engagecomoxvalley.ca. When we're in the public realm, we have a URL that's on our CSWM page that redirects people to this, so that publicly we're making sure that it's inclusive of the Strathcona Regional District residents, because we understand that tool is a little bit tricky. So we do have these goals and guiding principles. We were out in the community last summer, and we went to community events all over the area in person. We also held events at the landfill. We had, as I mentioned, 1,100 survey responses on this one. In step 1 and 500, and in step 2, looking at the goals and guiding principles, which is a bit of a difficult topic to engage on. It's a little bit dry. People challenged, to feel the relevance of it, but it does really set the direction for the plan update. So just to summarize some of the community engagement that took place in the Strathcona Regional District area, we attended a number of farmers markets in the Campbell River area, and then also, different celebrations within each of the communities and had good attendance and good public interactions. For that particular consultation, I think we had almost more public interactions face-to-face than we had online interactions, which was really great to see. So generally, the goals and guiding principles were supported, but we also solicited strategies to improve diversion from folks during that time. And so I've summarized some of the feedback. It's difficult. There was quite a lot of comments, but some of the themes that came out were looking at evaluating location, size of transportation and depots for better accessibility and efficiency, services for boaters and campers, support for events like repair cafes and cleanup days. Illegal dumping came up a number of times, as well as improved education, those targeting seniors in schools. And then again, with around depots, enhancing with more bins, drop-off locations, and potentially more materials that can be dropped off. So more, and it all costs money. So, that's the main role of this is which direction do we go? What can we afford? And, which of these strategies do we choose? So we're going back out. We've got a couple of major topics that we want to sort of pre-consult on before we narrow down our strategies with the advisory and the board at the end of this summer. And so we have within this jurisdiction 2 events coming up on Quadra Island and Cortez Island, and then also at Ocean Resort, which is located in Area D. So for our rural residents on Eastern Vancouver Island that don't have a consolidated curbside service, we're just looking for ways that they can improve the diversion access if they don't feel it's necessary or meeting their needs. So we currently have an unstaffed depot at Oyster River, as you know, and in the southern part of the Comox Valley, we have the Cumberland landfill as the closest depot, as well as a private return it depot in Courtenay. So, those are the 3 facilities that are really serving that significant population right now, and it's one of our biggest areas for improvements. For Quadra and Cortez, I think this board's familiar with some of the challenges there, with the services that are provided. Quadra, we're moving forward with a depot. There's been some reports about potentially considering a transfer station, so we want to engage with the public on that. And on Cortez, I know there's some challenges, with funding the service and how do we, move forward working with the IC&I sector as well as the residents to make that service most effective. So we'll be looking at that as we move through those communities. In terms of some other steps forward, we've got an open house at the landfill in Cumberland in September 14th. That's a Saturday. We had that event last year, and it was really effective. People were really impressed with the engineering and the really seriousness that we take waste management. So that's bus tours around the facility. We had 142 people participate last year. It's a family-friendly event. And then we're going to be hosting our first open house at the organics facility in Campbell River for the public. So we've had some tours for elected officials, staff. We held an industry event a few weeks ago where we had representatives from different facilities and those in the sector come up and do a tour. So this will be our first public tour. And we're hoping to build some positive public will through that. And then, of course, as I mentioned, everything costs money, so a big part of this process is evaluating the financial cost and implications of all these strategies and bringing those forward as part of a big roundtable discussion we'll be having with the CSWM board in the fall. And then larger consultation that'll be happening next year for our shortened list of strategies. So lots to move ahead with, and appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. At the beginning of the presentation, you had a map, and it showed the different areas that you provide service. And one of the things that I noticed that wasn't on the map was that there was any service for Cayukit. And I'm curious how Cayukit is served with solutions for solid waste, because we've been there and it's pretty remote, and I think the closest place that showed on your map was Zabalas.
Yeah, for Cayukit, there's Walters Island, and then there's the village of Cayukit. For the waste that's moving out of the electoral area there, CSWM contributes to the transportation costs of that waste, and it's barged out on the U-Chuck to Gold River, and then it's brought to the landfill in Cumberland from Gold River. With the nation, Cayuga Checklistit, we have met with them and we've been out to the site. Our educator works closely with the school there as well, remotely and in person. And we're supporting them in trying to determine, the best way that they can navigate the Recycle BC complexities and contracts and trying to get them to have their transportation funded by Recycle BC. So yeah, we've definitely been open to the staff and working with Herb and Cynthia on, ways that we can support them if they have questions.
Director Von Esch.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question on the 550 kilograms that we're currently at. Is that the average of all our waste, or is that just residential? Does it include business, building, industrial waste as well?
Yeah, it includes all the disposed waste, including those sectors you mentioned.
Do you have a sense of what the residential or individual use is, if those are broken out?
Yeah, I don't want to get caught up on saying the wrong number, but I've seen, for example, the municipal numbers that come through, and that's on a per household basis. So I'd say that probably, I want to say 450 on a household basis, somewhere around there. But I can get back to you with more defined numbers. Yeah.
Director Sinnott.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. When you showed us the interest in different programs for the areas excluding Campbell River, have you broken it out further? Because I think there's a very different sort of culture between our islands, B and C, and perhaps the other areas. And I'm just curious that if you pulled it out, you might see different interest levels for the different programs.
Yeah, thank you. I'd agree. I didn't want to have 8 different slides because it would have dragged things out a bit. But we have seen that what we did for a different evaluation was analyze urban versus sort of East Coast rural versus remote West Coast versus islands. And yeah, we do see, similar trends for those areas. Relative to, the Cortez, Quadra, Hornby, Deep, Denman, is a similar vibe. Where we did see some differences is where those service levels are different. So, Quadra might have had a different thought than Cortez or Hornby. Denman has curbside garbage collection that's established as a service by the Denman Island Residents Association. So yeah, I'd agree. I think there is a bit of a different sentiment. You do also kind of get into some small numbers in terms of participation. So it does get a bit challenging to kind of convey that as being the sentiment of the community if there's only been, 4 or 6 people that have participated as well.
Director Colburn.
Thanks for your presentation. Thanks for being here today. And further to Director Sinnott's question, so you said that you will be coming to each of the municipalities separately, or the municipalities and areas separately? That's the first question.
Yeah, municipalities. So we haven't been to Zabalas yet, but we've been working on that community to community meeting. And so we're anticipating that might take place this summer. It may not now. So we do have to schedule that with you. But we've been out to Tassis and Gold River and looking forward to continuing our tour.
And further to that, if I may, I'm just wondering about if that engagement, if this presentation, the engagement piece will be rolled out more with numbers that are closer to home or more relevant for those municipalities, if that's how that's working. And then just kind of, I was wondering timeline on that. I guess if you're including this presentation with the community to community meeting, then that's kind of different, but we'd love the opportunity to have you come up. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we're going to try and plan to get out there soon. And we have been curating those slides to each community. So when we were in Zabalas, we'd speak to those issues around the landfill closure and particular engagements that we've had within those communities.
Hey, anyone else? No? Sarah, thank you very much for coming out today.
Thanks for having us.
Vivian and Mark. Move to receive.
Move receipt.
Thank you. Director Colburn, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Adoption of minutes.
So moved.
Director Colburn?
Second.
Director Wally, was it? Was that close? Oh, Vanesh? Oh, so, okay, we'll go there. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Business arising? None. Public considerations? None. Notice of motions? None. Chairs reports? None. Okay, committee chairs report. Electoral Area D, advising Planning Commission that the draft from the regular meeting for the Electoral Area D Advisory Planning Commission held on June 5th, 2024 be received.
Move receipt.
Director Mowini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Electoral Area C, that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the Electoral Area C Advisory Planning Commission held on June 6, 2024 be received.
Move receipt?
Director Mowini, Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the draft minutes of the regular meeting for the Electoral Area Service Committee held on June 12th, 2024 be received.
So moved.
Second?
Director Barnesh, Director Mowini, discussion. All in favor? Are you turning down the heat? Is that what you're doing? Excellent, thank you. Anybody else find it warm? Okay, good. I mean, not good that you're suffering, but First Nations Relations Committee could be a hot flash.
Move receipt of the draft minutes of the regular meeting, June 12th.
Director Colburn.
Second.
Director Wally got in there first. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Municipal Service Committee, that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the Municipal Service Committee held on June 12, 2024 be received.
So moved.
Okay, we've got Director Colburn and Director Lott. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And we go to staff reports. Development permit application. That the report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Second?
Director Wally got in there. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B, Director Wally, did you want to go over that?
Environmentally sensitive area development permit, DB. That environmentally sensitive area development permit, DP 3D24 Walker, as attached to June 14, 2024 report from the Chief Administration Officer be approved, and that the corporate officer be authorized to issue the permit.
Second.
Director Rice, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 2, development variance permit, Kavanaugh. The report from the CEO be received.
Move receipt?
Director Mowini,
Second.
Director Bonesh, discussion? Director Sinnott.
Yes, thank you very much. I do see the eventual recommendation from the planning committee and stuff that went on this, but I could not see anything that sort of explained the consequential costs for potentially what it seemed to be like doing a lot line adjustment to accommodate the setback that the variance was sought, and whether or not that interplayed with some of the commentary of the provision of the services on the lot. And I just don't know whether anyone has any reasons or can explain that further from staff. Like, is that realistic for this particular applicant to actually obtain those lot line adjustments relative to the restrictions on the lot and the size requirements at the SRD?
Thank you, through the chair to the board. Staff is unaware of discussions that the applicant may or may not be having with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure at this time. It is our understanding that they will explore this option, and I guess if that does not pan out for them, they would have the opportunity to move the structure further, potentially, or remove it altogether.
So they can't come back and have this revisited by the committee if they get no relief or, various recommendations. I'm just trying to understand, because it's, see the pictures of the structure, it's on concrete foundation. It looks like it's decently, it's not a ramshackle shack. I'm just trying to understand what's going on here for a meter.
Thank you through the chair. The applicant would have to wait a year to bring back a similar application. There would obviously potentially be the opportunity for them to seek a variance through the Board of Variance if they can express hardship. So that might be an opportunity for them as well. But at this time, they were hoping to be able to go through the lot line adjustment process to be able to proceed with their proposal for subdivision.
Thank you.
Okay. And we're still on receipt. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. I'm sorry? You may.
I'll move B, that development variance permit DV1C24 Kavanaugh, as attached to the June 14th, 2024 report from the Chief Administrative Officer, be denied.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Development variance permit, the report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Rice? Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Sorry?
I don't know if the committee wants, but there's alternatives there. If they want. Or, sorry, in 4 or? Yeah, in Thai Plaza?
I'm right here on Clark.
Oh, okay, sorry, forget it.
Forget it?
No, forget what I said.
I'm just going to forget what he said. Okay. There we go. The development variance permit DV 2D 24 Clark be attached to the June 14th, 2024 report from the CAO be approved, and that the corporate officer be authorized to issue the permit.
Move recommendation.
Director Rice,
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, number 11, Thai Plaza. Number 4, sorry, number 11 in my book.
Move receipt of the report from the CAO.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion,
Tom can speak to this if you want, Mr. Chair.
please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So staff were asked to do some background research, which we've attached to this report. It's a longstanding matter, the matter of parking at the Thai Plaza. And what we have found basically is that there was provision made back in the early 60s for public parking to be an everlasting feature of this land. Whether that still exists or not, we believe it does. But it is rather difficult there are no covenants on title, for example, so we've had to go back to original land records from the province. And so anyways, if there's any questions about what's in the report, be happy to try and answer them.
Any questions? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. It's not a question as much as a comment, and I wanted to thank staff for this report. I believe that it will provide peace of mind to the handful of Quadra folks who have a vehicle on this side for access to their employment. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, so still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And there's some options, A or B. Director Sinnott?
Yeah, I'll move option B, that the regional district not conduct further research into the status of parking restrictions at Thai Plaza Shopping Center at this time.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay. Number 5, Upper Campbell Lake shoreline erosion. The report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Rice,
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? Director Rice?
Thank you, Chair. Just in quickly reading through this brief report, I'm a little disappointed with the details. The reason that this was brought forward was that and I'm still playing catch-up with this, but residents were under the impression that there would be assistance from BC Hydro to deal with shoreline erosion. Properties are being eroded into the lake, and I do recall sitting in meetings where there was discussions about potential grants. So I'm very disappointed with the response from Hydro. I don't think that it's detailed enough. So I'm wondering what it would take to get a more detailed response from BC Hydro.
We can do a few things. One, we can ask if to schedule a meeting for certain. That can just be direction of staff and include yourself in it. And then as well, again, keep in the back of your mind, we're coming up to it. It's the summer of UBCM. If you want to organize, have us organize a meeting with Hydro, we're happy to do that as well. So I don't think we need a motion on a meeting. If you like to, happy to set that up. And I think we have an item later about UBCM, and keep that in your back of your mind.
Thank you for that. I think that that would be appropriate. I think we need more information. Thank you.
Director Sinnott?
Yeah, perhaps this is a time where we could entertain whether reaching out and potentially inquiring as to the BCUC ability to regulate hydro when these various options are available through the BCUC. Maybe that's a further inquiry staff can make under the terms of service for hydro's operations.
And I would be in support of that too.
Okay. Anyone else still in receipt? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Do we need a subsequent for staff?
Nope.
The one Director Sinnott had, that would be good. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'll make a subsequent on this, that staff investigate and report back to the board whether or not there's avenues with the regulator of hydro to see whether shoreline erosion or any other issue that arises relevant.
Second.
Oh, Director Chapman got in there. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, processing a liquor license application. Will the report from the CEO be received?
On receipt.
Second.
Director Colburn, Director Von Esch. Discussion? Director Sinnott.
Yeah, I know we were talking about liquor license applications, but this is also cannabis operations. Can we not just expand that just in case that comes up as well? I mean, it doesn't come up very often.
Yeah, absolutely. Just make a simple amendment to include cannabis under the liquor. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, anyone else? Director Morwini.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. I have a question to staff and then a comment, if I may.
Go for it.
Okay, great. So the question to staff is, if there is a policy in place such as proposed in this report, will community consultation begin upon receipt of a referral from the Liquor and Cannabis Licensing Branch, meaning that the board would not make a motion to this effect when a referral is received, but would receive the post-consultation report and make a motion based on that consultation?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that would be a board decision as to the extent to which community consultation would take place. I believe that's the way the policy is currently written.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I was going to ask, are those referrals time sensitive?
Mr. Chairman, they are, but the elapsed time allowed for the process is quite generous. So I don't know that the board would be caught short time-wise.
If I can also add too, I think we've in recent times seen a good response from online polls and surveys, an increase in there. So consultation means something different to all kinds of different directors and how involved it is. So as Mr. Yates says, it's a board decision. I don't think we want to take the liberty of engaging a level of consultation without the board's direction. So we're happy to do whatever we're told. But there's a lot of different avenues for that consultation.
Anyone else? Director Morwini.
Thank you, Chair. I am concerned with scope creep and a downloading of provincial responsibilities and associated staff costs with this draft policy. Online, I noticed that the Regional District of Bulkley-Nechako has an application process and associated fees of up to $700 for any liquor or cannabis application which requires a board resolution. And then that application form that they have details the specifics of the public input process, which will be undertaken for each type of application. I will not be voting in favor of this policy. I think that if we need a policy like this, that it requires a more thoughtful, cost-based approach. And anecdotally, I understand that the provincial application process is rather time-consuming and complex, and here we are adding another layer of bureaucracy to businesses. The original option B, applications of community significance, for example, a new license rather than amendments, seems more reasonable to me. And the scope of this policy, proposed policy, is for applications located within the boundaries of electoral areas. I'm very curious to hear from municipal directors around this table what their municipal policy is regarding liquor license applications. Does your municipality engage in surveys or public meetings or other forms of consultation within your community with every liquor license application or amendment referral? And does your municipality charge a fee for that process?
Anyone?
While folks are thinking, just a reminder of what we've done in the past. In lieu of this policy, we've got this, we're just a referral, and we've remained neutral. We've said historically, we used to say yes or no, then there was some discussion amongst the board who were people to say yes or no, and we went with, no comment for years, and now we're looking at a policy. So just a reminder, we're just a referral agency. We're not the one that approves it. If no matter what we have, consultation, policy, whatever, we're just a referral.
Director Wally.
Yeah, and support of Director Mulvaney's position there, it would seem to me that the majority of our board, the municipalities, would have little insight into the wishes of the electoral areas that would be best known by the directors that represent them. We're the ones that get the phone calls and the criticism of it. So it seems to me that in the past, the method that we had that our CAO has just outlined served us well, that our constituents would basically tell the director what they wanted, and we'd have no comment to the political authorities. I think that we could keep it that way.
I'm sorry, could you guys use your microphone, please?
I think we've had two different approaches. We've had a presentation by a liquor license holder asking for letters of support for variation in hours of operation. And then we've had the one that came through and, we had the cannabis one, did we not? And we did not go out to the community on that one, but we'd had prior commentary on a related sort of issue, so we knew what the location and such was. So it's kind of, you decide at the time you get the information how much you want to do. I think that's basically what this policy is saying. It's not binding us, from what I understand.
Okay, anyone else? Director Von Esch?
Thank you, Chair. Is it possible to do the community consultation just on new applications? Just to simplify it, I think it would be worthy to do it for new
We can
applications.
do whatever you want. I mean, again, we've used the word may here, so, I mean, we could have this policy if you want, and still an application comes forward and you can say no comment. I mean, we don't have to do anything. So it's always up to the board, so.
So you're saying that when
You asked for this, so we brought it,
Yeah.
right? So, but regardless of this policy, we were using the words may, so we can still present it and you can say no comment and that's the end of it, or you can say consultation, or you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Okay, Director
Thank
Rice,
you.
then Director Wally.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I'm in support of having some control over liquor licenses. Instance that I can think of in Area D is that we have a golf course, and with drinking, we have speeding issues on that particular road. I think it's fair that the public be aware that, when liquor licenses are being changed, or even when there's going to be a new one, that they do have an opportunity to weigh in, because we don't really know, unless we're involved, what kind of impact it is going to have on the area residents. So I'm in favor of having some oversight on liquor licenses. I think that's very important. And I think it gives us the ability then to listen to what do the residents have to say that actually have to live with these decisions. Thank you.
Okay, still on receipt. Director Wally.
Yeah, I just point out the last application that came to Area A I consulted with the constituents. I phoned the licensing authority, told them we're not in favor. If you act quickly, you can refund the application fee to the applicant, which they did. And that way, everybody won. Didn't cost anybody a cent, and the thing was denied. Didn't even have to bother the board. That's the way it should be.
Okay, still on receipt. Did you have a comment, CAO?
That may have been the case individually for that one, but the referrals come to the board. Like, and I if they chose not to refer them to the board, that's fine and dandy, but the referrals could still come to the board on that.
Yeah, so what I was saying with that was that if the board's neutral, it gives the director of the area or, well, the municipalities have their own system, but for the electoral areas, it gives us the authority to look after our own constituents according to the way they feel.
Okay, still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. Motion is carried. Okay, B, the policy CP 033, process applications, be approved.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Director
Second.
Chapman. Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed. Director Wally and Director Mawhinney opposed. Okay, and Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, Governor's Financial Officer Association. Report from, thank you.
Second.
Director Rice, second. Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can just take an opportunity, I want to congratulate both our staff and the board. This is, I believe, the 3rd year running that we've won the Finance Officers Association Award for budget presentation. And this is something we've been working on for several years. And I believe it's led us to a very good spot. And being recognized for our budget is a great badge of honor for us. So.
Okay, excellent. Congratulations. Round of applause for them, guys. Good job.
I have a question, if you don't mind, Chair.
Sure.
Just wondering, how does an organization in Illinois find us, and what is the process for us getting these awards?
Well, it's application-based, like you make an application for it. They don't find you, you kind of find them. Yeah.
Ooh. Still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 8, Director Attendance at Meetings.
Move receipt.
Second.
Sorry, who was first there? Director Wally, okay, and then Director Colburn. Discussion? Director Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I guess I triggered this whole thing. My concern going forward is, again, that we're not really marked as on the roster if we attend the meeting. If we show up a bit late, we have technical issues while trying to log in online. And I would personally like to see us added to the roster at the beginning. If it says in there in the minutes somewhere that we entered the meeting or we leave the meeting, that's fine. But I'm not sure, without doing a lot more research, that always occurs. Because I know sometimes when I've been left off the roster, I've looked at it and I had to see where I brought forward or seconded a motion to see that I was in fact in attendance. So that was my concern in bringing this forward.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, still on receipt. Director Colburn.
I mean, process-wise, is there a provision for a late attendee, Mark, at the top of the page? I'm just wondering if that's possible, and that may soothe or ease so that at a glance, people can tell that we were there, but it's just marked under a different section. I'm just asking the question.
Mr. Chairman, we can certainly make that change if that's the board's desire. We may need to look at the procedure bylaw, which does have some prescriptive language around the keeping of minutes. But if that's something the board wants us to look at, we certainly can do that.
Okay, still on receipt. Director Davis.
So is that just the direction of staff? Do we require a motion around this?
Well, I think that's probably something for the CAO to respond to, but in
I
my-
would prefer motion, direction of staff that we amend the procedure bylaw to reflect directors that show up late to a meeting. I think your concern is, you look at the attendance, you're not on it, but you're there late, and there's nowhere that kind of identifies that in the minutes, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so if you want to make a motion that we amend the procedure bylaw to reflect or better identify directors that show up late, we can certainly do a quick change and report on that.
Just to be clear, we do currently, and have for quite a long time, shown when directors arrive at the meeting if they're not there for the initial roll call. We do show that currently. So I just don't want the board to believe that's not currently being done. It is currently being done.
I understand that that's a practice, but I'm not sure, without doing a lot more research myself, that that's always what actually occurs. So
Well, here's an easy check. So if you're not on the initial roster, but you've been paid, we've recorded you as late.
yeah, fair enough. It's not about the issue of payment.
No, I mean,
understand
that's the check, because if you show up to a meeting, you're paid for it. So if you didn't, you would know. What I'm saying is, instead of doing a lot of history, if you found the meeting you were at, you weren't paid, that would identify that you weren't recorded. So if you've been paid for all the meetings and you weren't there on time, it means you were recorded as late. Just trying to save you some research, if you will.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
fair enough.
Instead of looking through the minutes of every meeting, I'm not sure if you know which ones you were late or not. Again, if you were late and you were paid, that means you were recorded as late.
Yeah, conversely, it requires me to audit whether I'm being
Sure.
paid for every meeting that I
Yeah,
claim
yeah.
for, so.
Or just trust us that we're recording coming, I mean, again, if somebody leaves the room, we record that. I'm not sure if anyone's,
I will reiterate for the board's information, we do currently record when all directors arrive, if they arrive after the initial roll call. We also show in the minutes when directors leave, if they leave the meeting entirely or if they miss a vote. Those are the only examples where we showed the movement of directors. Otherwise, it's assumed that when they arrive, they're there for the duration of the meeting. And it's important that we have those records for posterity and for, in the event of any legal challenge, we show there's a quorum, who made the motion, who opposed it, et cetera, et cetera. So we do have that information currently being recorded.
Okay,
minutes.
thanks for that. I won't pursue this further.
Okay, still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 9, agriculture regulation by local government. Report from the CAO be received.
Move
May I-
receipt.
Director Lott, then Director Rice.
I believe Annika will speak to this for us, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, through the chair to the board. Staff was directed to address some items that were contained in a letter received by the regional district regarding an aquaculture license that has been issued in electoral area C to Island Sea Farms. We did receive a referral back in May 2022 for a renewal of their existing license and a change in the type of aquaculture that they were contemplating at the time. A review of the zoning bylaw at that time, and the regulatory language that is contained within that did indicate at face value that a rezoning would technically be required in order for the newly proposed aquaculture activity to be permitted in the bylaw. As we did further investigation, we acknowledged the fact that the province issued the license, even though the referral that we sent back to the province indicated that a rezoning would be required. If, in this case, the regulatory language in the bylaw appears to be more restrictive than what we are actually permitted to do in a zoning bylaw. And that's based on a recent legal opinion that the regional district received in relation to some work that we're doing for electoral area B and the aquaculture conditions that are currently contained within that bylaw. We will be bringing that legal opinion back to the Electoral Area Services Committee so that we can discuss the contents of that legal opinion in more detail in a closed session and discuss how we can move forward with proposed amendments to our zoning bylaws so that we are in line with our jurisdiction as it relates to aquaculture. The correspondence that we received had a few questions contained within it, which we wanted to address. There was a question with respect to who has authority over aquaculture activities that occur within our electoral areas. There are multiple layers of jurisdiction and authority from DFO to the province to the regional district. The regional district, however, is limited in what they can regulate through their zoning bylaws. Typically, we are restricted to regulating what happens over the surface of the water. And that would be for anything that's more permanent in nature. We can't try to regulate anything that is transitory or anything that is navigable or controlled from Transport Canada. So typically we can control permanent structures, floats, rafts, buildings that may contain machinery, but things that are related to farm activities, we are unable to relate, and that would be anything, or to regulate, sorry, that would be anything that would be the use of machinery or noise or odors. The second question within the correspondence related to who has the authority to enforce over aquaculture activities. The enforcement is typically under the jurisdiction of either DFO or the province, depending on who issued the license, and they will enforce and monitor the conditions that are contained within a license. With respect to the license that was issued for this aquaculture application for Island Sea Farms, the regional district does not have a copy of the license at this time. We will be requesting that just so that the director can have information as to what the province may or may not be regulating with respect to the license that was issued. The other question within the correspondence related to public notification. The regional district is merely a referral agency, so we receive the referral. We make comments with respect to any sort of land use that we can regulate or make note of any potential land use conflicts that may occur between the activity and those other activities either on the surface of the water in adjacent areas or on outlying upland areas. And the province will require only in very minor instances where public notification or consultation may be required. But typically, all they require is that you post notice, and that's done through the proponent. The other portion of this piece of correspondence was to ask that the regional district ensure compliance with our zoning as it relates to this application. The recent legal opinion that we have received does state that our authority is limited again to only the surface of the water, and we can't prohibit any of the terms or conditions of an aquaculture license that has already been issued by either the federal or provincial governments. Thank you.
Any questions, Ranico? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Aniko, for explaining that further and also for advising us that you are going to receive or seek a copy of the license and any conditions that may be on it. Because I will say that then 48 hours of this report being live, I received over 20 emails from people that live on Reed Island and other islands that were really concerned with this legal opinion. And I'm wondering if you're bringing this legal opinion forward, if it's possible to EASC, if you could also bring any previous legal opinions that we have that are around the same topic, just so that as I'm pretty new here, and I think, Director Vanesh and Director Rice are as well, so it might be helpful for us to sort of understand more of the historic context of what has been happening on this topic in this area.
Just on that note, I do believe a few years ago, the board wrote a report on all, I'm just going to say, issues legal around the Island Sea Farms issue, if my memory serves me correct. we did rise on all that information. We can package that up certainly in the report, but all that is open session, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not at the same level of understanding on this topic as
There was a
some of my
lot of
constituents.
info, yeah.
So that would be really helpful. And I think that the one thing that I would like to do is to refer this topic or this report to the Electoral Area Services Committee. So I have had quite a few people that have been asking me questions and sending me emails. So if I do receive further questions from them, it would be really great for me to be able to do follow-up with staff. And if we could, so I'd like to move referral to the Electoral Area Services Committee of this report.
We're still on receipt.
Oh, okay.
We're still on receipt. I don't think so. Pardon me?
Deferral would take precedence, but not.
Deferral, but not referral, right? No. But we'll get through this real quick. All in favor of receipt? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Go ahead.
I would like to move referral of this report to the Electoral Areas Planning Services Committee for further discussion.
Director Wally, discussion?
Oh, and I have one question about that also.
Go ahead.
Discussion. This report does not include the initial license referral that was mentioned that happened in May 2022 that came to staff. I did look through April and May 2022, all of the board and electoral area committee minutes, hoping to find the referral, and it wasn't there. So I'm not sure if the referral at that point, like I know last month we had a Crown referral that came here. I'm not sure if we were doing that back in May 2022, but it would be excellent to also have that license appended to the report if it's, or the referral appended to the report if possible.
So on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 10, active communities. The report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Second.
Director Colburn, Director Banesh, discussion. Director Mawhinney.
Chair, I noticed that there was, it's really great news for several North Island communities. There is funding included for the town of Port McNeill. I was just curious if this application is being done in conjunction with the District of Mount Waddington?
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah. And just for clarity, I mean, the board will see these often when we make a grant application if we're awarded money. Because it wasn't anticipated, none of them would be in the financial plan. We always have to amend the financial plan, and this is actually what this is doing.
Director Sinnott.
Yeah, I see that there's spare funding. It looks like it might be directed back to the gardens. Does that mean it goes into a different sub-budget? And does it go back to the Gardens Commission, or is this something that the board deals with?
No, so this would have been in the application and just outlining what the remaining funds is going to be used for, so it doesn't need to go back to the gardens. It's already been approved by the board.
Okay, anyone else still on receipt? Director Lott.
Just want to recognize the efforts of staff making this application. We live on an island. We're surrounded by water, lakes, rivers, and streams. Our children, basically play in there. And this provides protection for them as well as contributes to health and wellness of our community. So thank you very much for all the efforts that they made in securing this funding. It's going to go a long way to provide for public safety and as well as public health. Thank you.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B, that the 2024-2028 financial plan be amendment to incorporate $49,999 from, so moved, Director
Second.
Chapman, Director Lott, Director Chapman. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Clarification, if I can, to staff. When we come to large resolutions, is it appropriate that we move 10B and not necessarily read it out since it's already on the agenda? We've already read it.
I think go ahead.
I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, that the board has made a commitment to transparency, and this is part of allowing the public to know what 10B means. Now, if there was another way of doing that, I think we'd be more than willing to look at what those options are. But at this point, I think the public relies on the video as you can see, there's not many members of the public here today, so we do rely on the video to communicate to the public what the board's decisions are. And I think, my understanding is board wishes to be transparent as possible in that, and that helps. So,
So it must be read, Director Chapman, in its entirety. Yes.
It's kind of to the chair's preference as well, just.
Okay, delegation of authority, grant and aid. Report from the CEO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Mawhinney, Director Colburn, discussion.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can just say a few words about this. The board has asked us to look at delegating the authority of the grants and aid budget. It's our opinion that to do this, the board needs to create a new service with certain parameters. And the reason behind that is that it's a statutory service that when the regional district was established, it's an authority that the entire board and every director was given. You can't fetter the next director's ability to vote on something. So let's say this board made a decision to delegate the authority, and then somebody else in the next election gets elected and says, well, that was a statutory authority I had that the previous board took away from me, which they cannot do. So what we can do to delegate that authority, if the board wishes, is to create a service and specific parameters within that service. And there would still remain a authority for the board to support, approve, vote on grants and aid, if they will, outside of what the new service would create. So there's an ability to do it, but you have to create a new service to do it. You can't take away the board's right to vote on it. Even though this board may agree to that, the next people that show up go, hey, that's my right and authority. You can't take that away from them on a permanent nature.
Okay, so it's still on receipt. Director Badesh?
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. So how was the Comox Valley Regional District able to do it?
Well, you can do anything until it's challenged, but it's our opinion that it's a statutory right that's given to the board, and that can't be taken away from anyone here. You can create some new parameters, but in my opinion, they don't have that authority to take away. So we have a statutory service that's every director here is entitled to vote on. How can we take that away from a director? I don't see it as possible. But you can create a new service with parameters around that service that, maybe for the most part and take up 95% of what that is, but you still have to provide the board's ability and authority to do that, so.
Okay, Director Rice and Director Wally.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment. When the Black Creek Oyster Bay Water System agreed to delegation of authority, it was only on administrative tasks that staff would normally have anyways. So we didn't give away anything. We still have wholesome discussions, we still vote. But on the administrative items, it made more sense that instead of bringing them into a 1-hour meeting, that we delegate that authority. It still goes back to the East Committee for a proper discussion. My preference on delegation of authority with what I see in this report is that I'm not in favor of creating a new service. Thank you.
Okay, so still on receipt before we go to A and B. Director Wally?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'd like to make a subsequent motion after receipt.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Go ahead, Director Wally.
Yeah, I'd move that option A, that a bylaw to establish a service for awarding grants within electoral area to be prepared for further consideration.
Second.
Who's second? Director Sinnott? Thank you. Discussion? Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. I'm curious if I would be able to offer a friendly amendment to the motion and that it could be brought to the Electoral Area Services Committee for review before it came back to the board, just so that if we have questions about it, it doesn't necessarily have to take up board time. Is that possible? Is that feasible? And would the maker of the motion be amenable to that?
That's good with me, if that's good with staff.
It's good with staff? Good with staff.
Mr. Chairman,
It's good with you.
I think we would have no choice but to to try and work with the electoral area services, because we're talking about a subset of board's authority, and right now, I don't know what that subset looks like, and I think that would be part of the journey of discovery.
I'm fine with that amendment.
Yeah, again, I think that subset is EASC, so it would come to that. If it was the service of one, of course, it would stay at the board.
All in favor? No, sorry.
I still have a question on the motion. It's for staff. When you create a service like this, and it requires staff intake to process it within, say, the service, is that allocated to the electoral areas that are participating in the service, that particular amount of cost? So it moves it out of the general SRD generally and moves it into the service area?
Ultimately, it would. I mean, the creation of the service, the administrative work that we do, no, that would be general government. But once that's done, yes, then it'd be allocated to the electoral areas or whatever that subset is.
Well, just from the city of Campbell River's point of view, and perhaps just mine, I'm in favor of this because it takes a lot of the extra work off of us as the municipals that just sit here and listen to all these small grants.
And that's why I brought
I think Director Lanyon agrees. Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
Can I just add one?
Director Rice, you have a comment?
Yeah, just I can understand Director Rice's hesitation with this because it could become a 3-on-1 or 2-on-2 like deadlock situation in some cases. So I think maybe there needs to be some specific area director delegation so that if John wants to do a grant aid out of his own budget, he can without interference from others.
Sorry to disappoint, won't be able to do that because never will you have a decision that one director can make on their own. So that's it. The challenge will be how it's funded at the end of the day. Let's say it's the 4 EAs, how they're going to fund it and what kind of math equation we come up for that. But that's a discussion for EASC.
I'll just add, if there is that issue, then we can always take that authority back to the board level.
You'll always have it, so we're not going to distinguish any board's authority. You'll always have it. So if the challenge is too great, it'll just remain at the board.
Director Wally.
Yeah, just to alleviate Director Lanyon's fears, it would never be a 3-on-1 or a 2-against-2 when it comes to grants and aids. Those grants and aids are always funded by the electoral area that applies for them. So the other directors have no reason to oppose them. I think in the 17 years I've been here, the only opposition we ever had when there was one particular director who was perhaps rewarding their friends that we thought, no, this isn't appropriate, and I think he would have agreed with that. But apart from that, generally the directors get what they want. We've got no problem with it.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Director Rice is opposed. Motion is carried. Okay, number 12, ministerial meetings, 2024 UBCM convention.
That the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Yes.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion.
Mr. Chair, just a reminder on timelines and issues for the directors, as sometimes it doesn't remain top of mind and the calendar ticks on, that if there's ideas, topics that need to be brought forward so we can prepare information for those meetings and schedule them.
Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering if it would be appropriate to refer this report to electoral areas because there may be some areas that we would like to have a collaborative conversation with ministry staff, like Ministry of Transportation. I know that last year, Director Rice and myself ended up in the same meeting with Ministry of Transportation, so it might be good to see if there's ways to collaborate on these meetings.
Yeah, good idea.
Bain?
Likewise, it should go to municipal services. We're having fulsome discussions about economic development within the municipal services area.
Agreed.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Next.
Referrals, or will you just make
I think we just did, didn't we?
We just did. That was receipt.
Okay.
Okay. So on the other topic.
Refer the report to both EASC and Municipal Services.
Yeah, would you like a motion for that?
Please.
Maybe you just said what I just did?
I'll second that.
I did.
You'll second that? Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Next Gen 911 TELUS LGA agreement. The report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Rice, Director Colburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think Douglas is going to speak to this for us.
All right, thank you, Board and Director. I'm Douglas. For some of you who I haven't met, I'm the token GIS guy here at the Regional District. I speak to you today on this topic because it's near and dear to my heart. NextGen 911 is a wholesale rebuild of the emergency dispatch system across North America as mandated by the CRTC in 2017. It relies on GIS people because the new system is going to be using GIS data to leverage wayfinding, dispatch, and access to emergency locations, largely motivated by the need for cell phone technology. The current dispatch system is built around landline technology, and as many people know, that's going by the wayside. So the report in front of you today is just asking for authorization to execute a plan, an agreement with TELUS, and TELUS has been mandated to collect data, GIS data, for the western provinces of Alberta and British Columbia. In BC, they've reached out to the 26 regional districts as the highest geographic level of governance to collect this GIS data for, and thus it's on the regional districts to make this happen. We've sought legal counsel on this subject and have memorandums of understanding signed with 5 of the 5 municipalities within the region. And currently we sit at 3 for 9 in terms of agreements and sign-on from the First Nation communities. There's a few outstanding items to be determined in that regard, but overall, we're on a good path forward. And as a sort of sideline token to that, North Island 911, of which we are one of 6 shareholders, is it 6? 6 regional districts. Collectively, we are moving together as a whole towards this process. The deadline for signing is Q1 2025. Thus far, of the 6 shareholders, only the Comox Valley Regional District has signed, and we're looking to be the second.
Any questions? Director Sinnott.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the report. I take it the MOU, because it refers to the City of Campbell passing data over, is already part of that MOU?
Yes, the MOU for the city is the one that's fairly unique, given that they're the only muni that has internal capacity for GIS.
Yeah, and because we are a provider of 911 for a number of places across the province, it's important that this is compliant. So I'm assuming staff at the city know what they're doing. The other question I would have was probably discussions with our chair and the concerns about relying on cell service in a remote area. So I think the recent fire experience was a concern, and I'd like to hear from him potentially on any concerns he may have, because we did discuss with some of the wildfire people at, is it AVICC? And they seemed to be bewildered that we didn't have good cell service for their alerts.
Which we do not. But that is a long discussion that we can have. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Just a comment on that I find that puzzling because I know that North Island has done a lot of upgrades to the infrastructure, so I thought those issues were addressed.
No.
We have a North Island 911 meeting on Friday. I could bring that forward as new business.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. Any other questions, Director Mulwini?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Douglas, for the report. I noticed that it mentions that that 5 municipalities have signed on and 3 of 9 nations, and I was just wondering if the other nations, it's all in progress, or if there would be any support that the First Nations Relations Committee could help with providing more communication or context or anything. I'm just curious if there's a need for that or not.
They're all in progress. Everybody's informed. There's some outstanding timeline requirements, especially with Cluisis Nation. They're currently developing their community, so there's really no need they don't have addressing currently. Cayuga Checklist is in the process of deciding a path forward, given that they're the token treaty nation in the region. They do have the opportunity to do this on their own, and they haven't yet made a decision as to that. And then the remaining 4 nations are still, they have to go to Chief and Council for approval for those MOUs. So they're all, the irons are in the fire for all of them.
Awesome, thank you.
Still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move that the chair and corporate officer be authorized to execute the TELUS LGA agreement for Next Gen 911 service provision.
Second.
Thank you. Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Thank you very much. Cortez, there you go. Take away, Mark.
Move that the report from the chief administrative officer be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to give a bit of background for folks watching online or new to this issue. The initial report that came through showed, it's roughly sort of $1 million investment into making this happen on Cortez with, anywhere between 150 and 250 in operating costs each year. And that this is not a project that we can just move forward with using tax requisition, not something I'm interested in, I don't think Cortez is, but it's something that if we can get this study done when the provincial or federal government opens up infrastructure funding, it could be something that we can jump on. And I do want to make a note after talking with the CAO that I think there are some aspects that weren't necessarily considered in the first stage that could be considered in the second stage, primarily around boat sewage and the opportunity, because Cortez is such a boating and sailing center for a lot of people, and the Gorge Harbor has gone through a huge revitalization, and that if septic removal from boats could be added to that service, it could be a way to bring down operating costs. So I'm really excited about this potential and recognize that it's a long-term thing, and hope we can have the board support to move forward with the second step. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to move that the regional district proceed with part 2 of the Cortez Septic Management Study using $20,000 from the Growing Communities Fund and $5,000 from the Liquid Waste Management Service, Function 340.
Director Davis, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Oh, electoral areas.
B and D.
No. Yeah, just B and D. Sorry, I apologize.
Is that because of the $5,000 from the Liquid?
Yeah, shared service.
All right. I haven't checked in with Director Rice, but I hope you'll support it.
So does B and D agree?
Thank you, Director Rice.
Okay. Motion is passed. Director Wally, do you want to take the next one? Your microphone, please.
Need an automatic button on there. Sayre Valley Fire Hall renovations, that the report from the CEO be received.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that the chair and corporate officer be authorized to execute the contract with Advanced Builders and Contractors for renovation to the Sayre Valley Fire Hall based on its response to RFP 0224.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'd like to move B, that the application to the Infrastructure Planning Grant Program for $10,000 be submitted to assist with funding to complete the Oyster River and Coastal Lands Riverbank inspection.
Second.
Director Pradesh, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move C, that the 2024-2028 financial plan be amended to include a transfer from reserves of $35,000 from Function 790 to be used for the Oyster River Bank inspection project.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. 17.
I'd like to move receipt that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Varnesh, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move option B, that the Chair and Corporate Officer be authorized to execute a contract with Kerwood Liddell, KWL, to carry out the Oyster River and Electoral Area D coastline floodplain risk assessment mapping project per its response to RFP 0324.
Second.
Director Moini, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move option C, that the 2024-2028 financial plan be amended to incorporate $150,000 from the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund Disaster Risk Recovery Climate Adaptation Grant to fund the activities identified in the September 8th, 2023 report from the Chief Administration Officer.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, Discovery Islands. Other Discovery Islands Solid Waste Management, the report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Wally, discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
I'd like to move receipt of the supplemental report.
You're going to read that out?
That the supplementary report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
It's not on my list. Why isn't it on my list?
I can read C2 if you like.
Please.
Are we ready for that? Did we vote already on B?
I think we did. Did we? No? Not yet? It seemed like we did. Pretty close? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move that the Regional District advocate for enhanced waste disposal options, including the establishment of a solid waste transfer station on Quadra Island, and that the Regional District advocate for an annual extended producer responsibility event to facilitate material collection initiatives within the Outer Discovery Islands, and that a solid waste dumpster at Hoskin Landing be explored for use by Outer Discovery Islanders, with the cost being shared by resident participants.
Director Wally, second. Discussion? All in favor? You have a discussion, Director Mawini? Okay, good. All in favor, we did that. Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, 19, Cortez, that would be Director Vanesh.
Move receipt.
Need a seconder.
Need a second.
Second.
Director Mawini?
And I believe Renee will
Discussion.
speak to this for us.
Good afternoon, Chair and Directors. I'm here to provide some information regarding the Cortez Aerodrome as requested by the board in May. This airstrip is located at 939 Raven Road in Cortez. It was established in 1999 and was approved by Transport Canada as an aerodrome under the Aeronautics Act that same year. That allows non-scheduled aircraft, including helicopters, to be permitted to land on the airstrip after receiving prior permission from the aerodrome. Regular scheduled flights are not permitted. In terms of upgrading the airstrip, the owner is only required to consult with the community if the renovations would make the airstrip more than 100 meters longer or greater than 10% of the current size. So if it's within that, there's no requirement under Transport Canada's regulations to consult with the community. In the report, there is an email address. If community members suspect that it is greater, they can contact Transport Canada through that email for follow-up and investigation. There was also some questions regarding transitioning from gravel to a paved runway, and that is often done to protect aircraft. Landing on gravel can damage aircraft, so that is one factor in transitioning to a paved runway. Information I received from both Transport Canada and the Campbell River Airport estimate that the aerodrome was suitable for light general aviation aircraft, small twin-engine aircraft, light turboprops, light business jets, and helicopters. These aircraft generally seat up to 9 passengers, but it really is dependent upon the capacity of that aircraft and the length of the landing strip. So in summary, just wanted to remind that air transportation is federal jurisdiction with no overlap from other levels of government, and the regional district does not have jurisdiction over the aerodrome regulations or their enforcement.
Thank you, Chair. Really appreciate this report. Obviously, it's been a huge issue on Cortez. We had 25 people show up impromptu to try and block these pavers from accessing the property, and there's a lot of concern, and I really appreciate staff time being able to address these concerns, and just something that I can bring back to the community with some new information here that we weren't aware of. I really appreciate the email address. It's not clear whether it's increasing in size. I did have a question around, is that size increase just length, or is it also width? And I also appreciated the history here is that when this air landing strip was first proposed, the regional district actually opposed it, and we went to court to try and stop it because it contravened our zoning bylaws, which is the will of the community. And I think that just sort of points out to the tension here that that Ottawa is controlling something that has deep concern for local people that don't feel that they have a say in it, and this is really useful. I appreciate taking the staff time. I know some directors did have some concerns around the staff time, but I hope everybody can see that this is something that's going to be useful for the community, given the size of the concern. And just the one question around whether the size, if that includes width or is it just length?
I think it's a net 10% increase, so both.
Okay, Director Sinnott.
Yeah, thank you for the report. I just want to assure you, like when it said light jets, I was very doubtful because there's so many insurance requirements on jets. I mean, Campbell River Airport had to expand its runway just to accommodate jet traffic, so this isn't even like Campbell River. So I'd be very doubtful any kind of jet's ever going to show up, just for insurance reasons.
Yeah, I hear that, and I think when just people see that that's a possibility and legally they can, and who knows, with new technology allowing jets to be able to land in smaller runways, it is a concern. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All in favor of receipt? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 20, Comox First Nations. Addition to the reserve, the ATR referral.
Move receipt
Thank
of
you.
the report from the CAO.
Director Wally, second. Did you second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
You also have a question. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, just curious, who owns this land that the Comox Band wishes to add to the reserve?
I don't know.
It seems to me if we're going to offer a support, we should know at least whose land we're giving away.
I'm assuming they're purchasing it.
Okay, anyone else still in receipt? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B, that the regional district provides a letter of support to the Comox First Nations to the ATR application.
So moved.
Second.
Director Bonish, Director Mulvaney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Cooperative Housing Grant.
Move receipt of the report.
Second.
Director Bonish, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B, Director Mulvaney.
I will move that a report be prepared on co-op housing and grant funding opportunities to explore affordable housing options for rural areas of the Strathcona Regional District.
Second that.
Director Bonish, discussion?
Just for the larger board to know where this came from, this came directly from an announcement from the federal government that they've invested, or they're going to invest $1.5 billion into co-op housing opportunities. So this is kind of a way for us to just get first in line and jump on board and take potential advantage of it.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, there's more? Sorry, Director Rice, go ahead.
Just one question that I had. One of the things that I've noticed with the funding opportunities on anything that's related to housing is that the electoral areas are not being considered, and it's mostly because of the fact that there isn't building services and building inspections. So I'm just wondering, does anybody have any insight as to whether or not this would be the same case?
No insight. However, I think that's another topic possibly for UBCM to be brought up, because we're not alone in that terms. There's many other regional districts that don't have building service consistent across the board and are facing the same challenges. On the other hand, we hear, or I have heard through online seminars put on by the province and the feds, that the first phase was more to accommodate the municipalities, and maybe the second phase of these funding programs is to look at electoral areas. Nothing written in stone, but I've heard discussion in terms of that, because more of the municipalities were awarded, funding for housing and housing-related projects than the EAs in the first phase.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Housing Accelerated Fund, report from the CAO will be received.
Move receipt.
Oh, that was, you'll second that?
So
Director
if
Maloney.
again, Mr. Chair, the impetus of this report really, at times there will be grant applications that come out that we'll want to apply for, but we really don't fulfill a lot of the requirements for the grant. So we will use our liberties at times and exaggerate maybe what we have in light of not having exactly what the funding source requires. So I know the conversation came up with Director Mawhinney because in this application to the Housing Accelerator Fund, we mentioned a regional housing plan, and that caught her attention. And the reality of it is, Aniko used, her liberties in populating the application to explore maybe a housing plan that we do not have. We don't really have one, to be honest with you. So this report was to address that, because it seemed as Director Mawhinney was interested in seeing this housing action plan, and the reality of what I told her is we don't really have one. So it's something that the board can certainly consider, but it was just bringing to the attention that, we don't have a shelf-ready housing action plan.
Okay, Director Sinnott?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, with our smaller communities that have not the capacity to do housing plans and stuff, is there any opportunities that we can fold in some of the smaller municipalities? I'm just thinking Kemp River's got theirs.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And I think, that's part of the reason for regional districts, both electoral areas and smaller municipalities. And this was just kind of explaining that, and I don't know each individual municipality if they have it or they've addressed it or not, but we don't have one. We certainly don't have one for our own regional district, and we don't have one that we've helped or worked towards with the smaller municipalities.
So just for people who don't know, I think we had our housing needs plan a year and a half ago. And I think it was, I'm trying to remember, 1,200 units plus another 350 supportive units that were going to be needed in the next 2 to 5 years. I can't remember the exact number. And then they did a retrospective, and in Kemp River, they'd only built 277 in 5 years. It's shocking how behind the 8 ball we are. So I'm expecting you'll find the same.
Director Colburn?
Housing needs studies are funny, and housing action plans are funny as well when you're as small as we are. So prospective population is supposed to increase in Zabalas to 135, and then it's supposed to go back down to 129 in subsequent years by 2030. So it's an interesting phenomenon. I'm sure if we had the land to and I'll talk to the area director to the right of me here. That would be, you know, some of the only options. So it's an interesting dynamic, right, to talk about them in the larger capacities and then the smallers. I think something like some municipality like Sayward or even Tassus or Gold River might be in a better position of that. So just wanted to give a little perspective about the smallest smallie.
Okay, still on receipt.
Smallest muni, I meant to say.
Director Von Isch.
Thank you, Chair. I just, you know, it was interesting to see the sort of some of the details behind the application, and just wanted to express my concern around number 4, establishing a building service for areas B and C. And that this, if we would have got this grant, that you were telling the applicant that this is something that we were going to do in areas in B and C, and this is the first time hearing of it. And, you know, I would hope that, first of all, it's like, you know, if I supported this, I would definitely wouldn't get elected again. It's definitely not the will of the community to have that. So just wanted to express that concern and make it clear that that's not something that I would be able to support.
It's just a report, that this was the initial report that we supplied for the Housing Accelerator Fund. It doesn't reflect the application that went in, but this is just a cut and paste of what we brought. And obviously we heard back that there wasn't support for building service, so we didn't submit with the building service, and subsequently we didn't get any money.
Thank you.
Okay, so on receipt, all in favor? That's you voting yes? Okay, perfect. Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 23, Poverty Reduction Plan. A report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Second.
Director Marwini, Director Colburn, discussion. Director Wally.
Well, I'll just, we'll have a staff presentation on the poverty reduction plan, but while they're setting up for it, as everyone can see, you know, we're generally, because we're meeting once a month, we have fairly healthy agendas. You can see the attachment in here. The poverty reduction plan is over 100 pages. I don't imagine too many were able to pore over that, and there can be a lot of discussion around there. So what the intent historically of our committee of the whole meetings have been is when we have something that can kind of dominate a significant portion of the board meeting, we'll schedule a committee of the whole meeting so we have time just to discuss that. And it's up to the board, but it was kind of my intention of bringing this forward, having the presentation, and then seeing the discussion that could go along with it, referring this to a committee of the whole meeting.
Okay. Hello.
Good afternoon, Chair and Directors. My name is Madison Stewart. I'm the Community Health Network Coordinator with the Regional District. A large group of folks worked on this plan, so I'm happy to be here to present it to you. I know you have quite a long agenda, so I'll try and keep it as clear, concise, and quick as possible. In April 2023, the Strathcona Regional District was successful in receiving $147,000 from the UBCM Poverty Reduction Planning and Action Program, which aims to support local governments in reducing poverty at the local level and to support the province's poverty reduction strategy, known as Together BC. The plan is meant to build on and align with similar foundational reports, such as the Housing Needs Report, and be utilized for the following government functions. One being providing a strategic framework to focus and align poverty reduction efforts, lending to policy and program development, leveraging funding and resources to secure provincial, federal, and private funding, facilitating collaboration to foster a sense of shared responsibility, to monitor and evaluate measuring success, ensuring accountability, and informing data-driven adjustments, raising awareness and serving as an advocacy tool to educate the public and policymakers, and to build on and leverage existing efforts, creating a more robust strategy. So what is poverty? Together BC defines poverty as lacking the necessary resources, both material and non-material, to live a full and dignified life. Poverty reduction refers to decreasing both the number of people who live in poverty and the depth of poverty they experience, in addition to reducing the impacts of poverty on individuals, equity-seeking groups, and communities. Reducing poverty is crucial not only for improving individual lives, but also for enhancing societal well-being and economic stability across communities and throughout our region. The plan's been developed using both primary and secondary sources. Primary source findings were derived from a series of engagement sessions, focus groups, interviews, and survey responses across the region between February 26th and April 15th, 2024. And secondary source data for this study included past internal reports such as the Housing Needs Assessment, as well as local, provincial, and federal data sets. Throughout the study, a community team of over 100 participants throughout the region were consulted with to give feedback to ensure that qualitative findings were accurate and relevant. As outlined in the Together BC framework, the Regional Poverty Reduction Plan priorities are housing, children, youth and families, education and training, employment, income supports, social and health supports, discrimination and stigma, and safe and affordable transportation. The 10-year action plan aims to systematically address the gaps identified throughout the community engagement approach, and the plan includes recommendations and actions for each priority area while identifying the SRD's administrative role, potential partners, and timelines for implementation. Recommendation 1 refers to housing. So engagement findings indicated across the region that housing is perhaps the most critical issue, where affordable, suitable, and stable housing remains insufficient. The plan outlines the challenges according to community feedback and provides tangible, innovative solutions. Recommendation 1 is to prioritize housing need and not demand, and actions attributed to this recommendation are as follows. 1.1, develop a regional affordable housing strategy. 1.2, ensure the SRD housing service addresses a broad range of housing needs. 1.3, create programming to assist homeowners struggling to maintain their homes. 1.4, advocate for increased provincial and federal funding for non-market and supportive housing. 1.5, partner with developers and industries that utilize seasonal workers to explore temporary housing solutions. 1.6, develop a rental registry to connect renters with legitimate housing opportunities, preventing real estate scams. 1.7, explore opportunities to help renters transition to home ownership. 1.8, expand the SRD building service to ensure homes are built to the BC Building Code and meet eligibility requirements to some provincial and federal housing programs. The overall engagement findings show a strong desire to address the need for reforming income support to reflect local living conditions and address affordability crisis more effectively. Recommendation 2 is to advocate for a universal basic income, and the actions attributed to this recommendation are as follows. 2.1 is to collaborate with nonprofits and advocacy groups to amplify universal basic income efforts. 2.2 is to advocate government to government for a universal basic income. 2.3 is to implement a public awareness campaign to educate and gather support for universal basic income. And 2.4, advocate for increasing the amount of extra income that people receiving income support can earn. Transportation also emerged as a critical barrier during engagement in all communities except Campbell River. A lack of transportation services regionally compounds challenges in accessing economic opportunities and social or health services. Recommendation 3 is to ensure that safe and affordable transportation is available to all who need it, and the actions are as follows. 3.1, gather insight from rural transportation models and assess their suitability. 3.2, develop transportation pilot programs tailored to community needs. 3.3, assess the feasibility of a bike sharing program. 3.4, advocate for improved telecommunications along travel routes for safety. 3.5, develop, expand, and enhance active transportation routes to support non-motorized travel. And 3.6, advocate for the Motor Vehicle Act to prioritize the multimodal movement of people and freight rather than vehicle efficiency. Recommendation 4 is to end the racism, discrimination, and stigma associated with poverty. And actions are 4.1, develop community education campaigns in partnership with community groups to challenge stigma and build empathy. 4.2, publicly celebrate and recognize Indigenous Peoples Day, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, Red Dress Day, and Louis Riel Day. 4.3, engage an external organization to review the SRD administration's programming for cultural safety and alignment with Truth and Reconciliation Commission's of Canada's calls to action. 4.4, embed anti-racism and cultural awareness in all SRD administration initiatives. And 4.5, develop a framework in alignment with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada and UNDRIP. Addressing the needs of families, children, and youth is essential for effective poverty reduction. For families, especially those with young children or single-parent living situations, poverty presents multifaceted challenges ranging from securing affordable childcare to finding appropriate housing. For children, the years from 0 to 5 are not only formative, but also determinant of long-term health, education, and economic prospects. Recommendation 5 is to expand affordable childcare and resources for youth, and the actions attributed to this recommendation are as follows. 5.1, advocate for the $10 a day childcare program. 5.2, promote early childhood education pathways for youth and adult learners. 5.4, develop communications which amplify awareness campaigns linking families to childcare subsidies and resources. 5.5, develop, expand, and enhance safe, affordable social opportunities for youth. And 5.6, develop a regional childcare strategy and while exploring partnerships with municipalities, First Nations, and nonprofits. The region faces several challenges in providing adequate social support services. The greatest challenges are those relating to access to healthcare, food security, and aging. Recommendation 6 is to enhance the integration and coordination of social support services, and the actions attributed to this recommendation are as follows. 6.1, establish a strategy to implement and monitor actions from the Poverty Reduction Plan. 6.2, advocate for improved access to mobile social and health services or transportation to services. 6.3, explore partnership opportunities to support residents trying to navigate the social support services that are available currently. And 6.4, advocate for sustainable funding and resource support for NGOs. Average employment rates throughout the regional communities are lower than the provincial average. Seasonal and part-time employment, which is prevalent in the region, contributes to household financial instability. Recommendation 7 is to explore pathways for introducing a living wage and developing regional economic and employment opportunities. And the actions are 7.1, evaluate local conditions, determining a living wage regionally and sub-regionally. 7.2, partner with businesses to create casual, creative, and non-traditional work opportunities for those with flexible work needs. 7.3, create and implement economic development plans to identify opportunities and partnerships which support long-term employment growth and stability, and including employment pathways for critical sectors such as healthcare. And 7.4, collaborate with employers and labor unions to promote and implement a living wage initiative. And finally, recommendation 8 is to explore approaches in advancing educational opportunities. 8.1 is to explore increasing subsidies for boarding youth in education and promote stable housing and regular home visits. 8.2, explore partnerships with school districts and North Island College to identify opportunities for the housing service to support student housing. And 8.3, collaborate to support educational opportunities and literacy initiatives region-wide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Director Sinnott?
Yes, thank you for the report. I have lots of comments, and I think we're going to do that at the committee of the whole. Isn't that where we're going to put those questions? So I'll save my time.
Are you making, well, first, we're still on receipt. So on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Now,
Oh, there's Mr. Carr.
all in favor?
Oh, I had a question.
You had a question? Go ahead.
Comment. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with Director Sinnott. This is, it's a large report with a lot of recommendations, and when I look at them, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good, that sounds good, and then you're like, how much is all this going to cost? And I think the challenge for us is like, how do we address this very real issue in our communities? What's possible? What are the things we're already doing? What are the things that we can, the lower hanging fruit, and what can we make investments into? So I think having a larger discussion around this it would be important and be more fruitful than trying to do things today.
I just have one thing that would be very helpful if we're going to refer this over to the committee of whole and perhaps an addendum, the measurements. There was a reference that we had to have measurable outcomes, and I don't see measurements where we are. Well, I didn't really see them like where we, like it's not, like I'm looking through the index one, where is the summary? And I don't want to have 500 outcomes. I think we should be very tight in terms of what we're measuring. So I'll leave it to you guys to come up with some suggestions.
Okay. So on Director Sinnott's motion, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And B, that the poverty reduction plan attached to the June 26, 2024 report from the CAO be accepted.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Oh, there's the motion there. Are you reading for repeat?
I am. Do you have comment on B? Go ahead, Director Burney.
Thank you, Chair. I'm new to understanding the difference between received and accepted. Could there be some clarification on that?
Well, not a lot, but I mean, accepted is like, there isn't the ability, let's say, like there's recommendations and actions and things we can do. There's no obligation by the board to do them, but you're accepting the report. Like there's no ability to modify the report itself. You don't have to do anything that it says in there. You can pick and choose some of those things, but we're accepting the report as completed by the group. That doesn't commit you to, we've accepted the report, but it's again 100 and some pages with a number of, you've seen recommendations, and there's no direction from the board to complete, execute any of that stuff.
Director Wally first.
Yeah, I would move that we defer this to after the Cal meeting. And if I got a seconder, I got a comment on it.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I think most of the directors haven't had a chance to really read this in depth. As CEO said, there's a lot of pages there. We need to examine it first before we accept it.
Director Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and I totally agree. In fact, I think accepted is the wrong word. I think received is an appropriate word, and accepted is maybe one step further.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Just don't move the motion.
Just don't move the motion.
Is it on the floor?
It's on the floor.
Motion to defer B.
Was a motion to defer B?
To the Cal.
Mr. Chairman, my understanding is a motion made by Director Wally to defer item B until after the committee of the whole has dealt with this.
Go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. Just as added context for the board, the reason we are recommending accept of the report today, though it's to Dave's point, not committing the execution or implementation of any of the actions, is to meet our requirements for the funding requirement, as this is a grant-funded project. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Sinnott.
What exactly does that mean? You have a deadline for the end of the month, or what's going on?
Through the chair, what that means is that the project must be fully submitted to the project or the province or the plan as completed by July 6th. So it needs to have been received, but the implementation part of it is still.
Yeah, we've received it, so that's got to be adequate. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a $64,000 question.
Well, we have the motion to defer.
We're going to have a break? Is that the $64,000 question?
No, I think we're fine, Mr.
We have
Chair.
to defer this.
We've received the report. We voted on that.
Okay.
I think, to be honest, the accepted is a bit of a moot point. I don't know if the funding is contingent on specific language. The board's received the report. To me, that seems adequate. If it isn't, we'll have issues with the funders, but I think we're splitting hairs over words.
Okay. Director Sinnott for last
After-
comment?
Yeah, after the cow, are we permitted to amend it? Is this something we can change?
Through the chair, the action plan is something that I would expect would be refined regularly. So certainly.
Okay. Director Colburn.
Well, and it's interesting to me that there was a chosen group of stakeholders and people who were participating in this, so we really can't change their findings of what they found with their engagement. So there wouldn't be things like that. I'm assuming we wouldn't be able to change the outcomes and the priorities and things like that. Absolutely would be, but we can't go back and undo work that's already been done, I think is kind of where I'm, that accepted work. We're accepting the work that was done by the group. I don't know.
Okay, motion to defer is still on the table here. So all in favor of deferral? Opposed? Opposed is Director Chapman and Director Davis and Director Colburn. We still have enough, so the motion is deferred. Okay. There's been a request for a break. Can we do number 24 first, before bylaws? Okay. Number 24, go ahead.
Number 24, request for financial assistance, Sayward Future Society, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Wallen, just further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Go ahead, Director Wally.
Move that the board.
Your microphone, please.
I move that the board approve a grant for the Sayward Future Society in the amount of $1,500 to assist with costs for the 2024 Canada Day celebrations to be paid from Electoral Area A grant and aid budget.
Director Lott, second that. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break. So at 2:42. 2:42.
Fireworks. Yeah, do you want to?
Fireworks.
Yes, please. I need your supervision. Go ahead. Go ahead.
There's a tender out there, so. There's a tender.
I skimmed it, I do
Hey, hey, don't touch my mobile home, eh?
I understand your.
This is a little awkward right now. This is awkward right now.
Your,
It's a bit of a conflict, but I'd appreciate you turning a blind eye.
philosophy on that, yes, that's what I understand. I don't have you figured by any means.
You know,
I hate these meetings.
I didn't have any tolerance when I worked. I don't have any tolerance as an elected person. All of a sudden you get these bushwhacks thinking they're Philadelphia lawyers.
No, I know, I know. But as staff, you just told yourself I'm paid by the hour, so.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
And then when you're not, you're like, can you shut the hell up?
Exactly.
I thought Jagmeet Singh wrote that report.
He might have.
I saw a big ad yesterday of Trudeau sitting at his desk on his wall with employee of the month.
Oh, I got something for, this is for Ben, it's time sensitive. It was addressed to me, but it's, it gives a great chance. An effective campaign answers it. So, yeah, well, that's true, yeah. When I read that, that seems like a scam too. So the difference is I did this yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I just think that, no, because I mean, Brett sounds like he was talking things out. You go down to parties. He's what? He's good?
Well, we can save a stamp. It's like your year. So she's been here. She's been here. She's probably male.
Well, I think if you can study, you need to find him this campsite. Nancy said that she's recently recommended Carol, and she was still surprised, because he's kind and clear. And then she said also Russell DeMers over in Sierra Blanca, who's a newer guy, and he's nice, I think he's really younger. She said, "Give me a break." Russell's more responsive. 55, why that extra 5? Their bonus in their contract?
Also, congratulations. After Chair asked for us, yeah, and that's can't really say, like, amazing thing. I feel last year you really like then I thought like, we was on this agenda last year and I was told that happened.
Anyways.
Reached out to me, what do you want to do? Yay! Will you, what is the deadline? Oh, I'm so sorry. It's okay, we don't know. It was just that I was just, because I had said, could we refer this to East and but I'm just curious now if it's, so those are staff Other minutes of directors other than.
Thirty-nine oh two, 3903.
Yeah. Out in the rain. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, folks, let's bring her back.
No value to me whatsoever.
Directors, it's time.
0 minutes.
0 minutes.
Does that mean 2 more now?
0 minutes. Who are we missing? Okay, we're getting into bylaws now. Yeah. Okay, is everybody ready? Do we have quorum?
We have a quorum, we do not have Director Davis.
We do not have Director Davis or Director Colburn.
They're talking.
They're having a conversation. Okay, now we have almost quorum. There we go. Okay, bylaws. Bylaw 535, 536, the OCP amendment, rezoning application. Will the report from the CAO be received? Director Lott?
Second.
Director Mowini was first. I'm not trying to play favorites here, Mark. I'm ready. I'm not. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, discussion?
Yes, thank you. I would like to move deferral.
I'm sorry?
I would like to move deferral, and I will explain why if I can have somebody second. Thank you, Director Wally. So, Mr. Chair, this is an extremely weighty report with documents that are totaling about 800 pages, including 547 written submissions from island residents expressing diverse viewpoints. I know there are many folks that are eager for completion, and I have utmost respect to all of those who have participated in this process, and that respect includes reading and considering all the submissions, something I simply wasn't able to complete since the release of this report on Friday evening. So in consideration, there was a lot of reading in this one agenda item, plus the hundreds of pages of reading in the other dozens of other agenda items, and I would like to move deferral till July.
July board?
Yes, please.
Okay, and that was seconded by Director Wally. All in favor? Against? Opposed? However you want to say it. Motion is carried. Okay, so we'll refer to B as well. C, D, E, and F, correct? Okay. Director Mowini, you can take number 2. Director Rice, I apologize.
Item 2, bylaw number 538 and 539, OCP amendment and rezoning, electoral area D, Larmond. I'd like to move receipt that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor?
Hello?
Oh, sorry,
Discussion.
there's discussion.
Just a couple of comments for the public record. This was a public hearing. This was the first amendment to our brand-new OCP. There was 0 people that attended the public hearing. The written submissions, there were over 45 written submissions that supported this particular OCP amendment moving forward. So I will be moving the recommendations. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Go ahead.
I'd like to move item B, that the report on the public hearing for bylaw number 538 and 539 and all related records be received.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, go ahead.
I'd like to move the recommendation that bylaw number 538 be given third reading.
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, go ahead.
I'd like to move recommendation D, that bylaw number 538 be an Oyster Bay Buttle Lake official community plan bylaw number 2023 amendment number 1 be reconsidered and finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? Director Mowini? No? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'd like to move recommendation E, that bylaw number 539 be given third reading.
Director Mowini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move recommendation F, that bylaw number 539 be in Campbell River Area Zoning Bylaw 1991, amendment number 70 be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Director Mowini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Lott, you take number 3.
I'd love to say thank you, Chair. Got the report from the Chief Administrative.
Your microphone, please.
Oh, excuse me. My apologies. That the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And B, that the report from the public clearing for the bylaw number 545 and all related records be received.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
C, that bylaw number 545 be given third reading.
Second.
Which one? This one? C, or that's all directors. D is electoral area.
Just the last one.
C would be elected, has to be an electoral area director.
That's a misprint?
Should be all electoral areas.
Okay, electoral areas only for C.
Then I'll have to move the bylaw number 545 be given third reading.
Second.
Thank you. Director Benesch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Move that bylaw number 545 being electoral area G, zoning bylaw 1990, repeal bylaw 2024 be reconsidered, finally passed. I move that bylaw 545 being electoral area G, zoning bylaw 1990, repeal bylaw 2024 be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Benesch, discussion? I think so. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Another one of mine, Mr. Chair. I move that Fair Harbor zoning bylaw repeal, the report to the CAO be received.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that the report of the public hearing for bylaw number 546 from related records be received.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that bylaw number 546 be given third reading.
Second.
Oh, you know what? It was loud, but it just didn't quite get under there. Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Finally, I'd move that bylaw 546 being Fair Harbor zoning bylaw 2000, repeal bylaw 2024 be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
A question on item number 3, bylaw 545. Number D said that bylaw 545 being electoral area G. Is that a misprint? Should that be area D?
That's correct.
No, it is correct, it's G. So the next question is, what is G?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, the bylaw that was just repealed was adopted way back in the day when electoral area A was actually electoral area G, at least that part of electoral area A. Yes. So the name has stuck even though the circumstances changed.
Okay, Director Varnesh, number 5.
I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
Just to give a little bit of background on folks that are tuning in to this for the first time, this is a bylaw that we're setting up that allows the SRD to provide funding to community halls on Cortez Island outside of tax requisition. So this is gas tax funding or other grants that are applicable, because the original service agreement and bylaw was restricted to providing operating costs through tax requisition. So this just opens the door for other avenues of funding. And I'd like to move that bylaw number 548, being Cortez Island Community Hall Service, establishing bylaw 2018, amendment number 1 be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Director Wally, discussion? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I noticed that in the report, it says that following adoption, the regional district will need to amend the funding agreements currently in place with the community halls if it wishes to provide capital funding through the budget process. And I was wondering if we need a motion for staff to engage in amending the funding agreements.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I don't believe so.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we still on B? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Number 6, bylaw number 550, Cortez Community Housing Society funding request. I'd like to move that the report from the CIO be received.
Second.
Okay, Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'd like to move that bylaw number 550, being Rainbow Ridge Housing Project Funding Agreement Authorization Bylaw 2024, be reconsidered, finally passed, and adopted.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Electoral Area D.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 7, bylaw number 552, electoral area D rezoning, Lejowski. I'd like to move receipt that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Sinnott, was it? Mawini, I was so close. 2 away. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move recommendation number B, that bylaw number 552 be in a bylaw to amend the zoning regulations applicable to electoral area D be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Director Van Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C.
I'd like to move recommendation that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 552 be given second and third reading.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D.
That bylaw number 552 be in Campbell River Area Zoning Bylaw 1991, Amendment number 72, be reconsidered, finally passed, and adopted.
Second.
Director Van Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice?
I'd like to move item number 8, bylaw number 553, Area D zoning McEwen, that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'd like to move recommendation B, that bylaw number 553 be in a bylaw to amend the zoning regulations applicable to electoral area D be now introduced and read a first time.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C.
I'd like to move C, that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 553 be given second and third reading.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D.
I'd like to move D, that bylaw number 553 be in Campbell River Area Zoning Bylaw 1991, Amendment number 73 be reconsidered, finally passed, and adopted.
Second.
Director Van Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, number 9.
I'll make a motion that for bylaw number 561, that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second was Director Wally. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B.
I'll make a further motion that bylaw 561, being a bylaw to establish a commission to manage the operation of the Strathcona Garden Recreation Facility, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. C.
And I'll make a further motion that the rules be suspended and bylaw 561 be given second and third readings.
Second.
Director Mawini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D.
And finally, that bylaw number 561, being Strathcona Gardens Commission establishing bylaw 2024, be reconsidered, finally passed, and adopted.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Mawini. Number 10.
I would like to move that bylaw number 562, Quadra Island zoning bylaw revisions, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Second was Director Colburn. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B.
I will move that bylaw number 562, being a bylaw to revise and correct certain provisions of the Quadra Island zoning bylaw, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. C.
I will move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 562 be given second and third readings.
Director Wally, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. D.
That bylaw number 562, being Quadra Island zoning bylaw 2007, revision number 2, be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Varnesh, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Director Varnesh.
Bylaw number 563, electoral area B, short-term rental amendments. I'd like to move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second. Oh.
Director Colburn, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B.
I'd like to move that bylaw number 563, being a bylaw to amend the zoning regulations applicable to Cortez Island, be now introduced and read first time.
Second.
I do have a question for staff.
Go for it.
Just wanted to get clarity around commercial zoning. It was my understanding from what the province informed us is that the primary residence requirement does affect commercial zoning. And I'm hearing from someone on Cortez who does have commercial zoning saying they've talked to SRD staff and they say that the primary residence requirement doesn't apply to them. So I'm just looking for some clarity there.
Thank you through the chair to the director. This is a complicated question. I'll do my best to provide you an answer with some clarity. The principal residence requirement would apply to any zone lands, provided that the use that's occurring meets the definition of a short-term rental. There may be instances where there are commercially zoned properties that have tourist accommodation units that may not meet the definition of a short-term rental that would be provided the opportunity to remain as a commercial entity and not have to meet the principal residence requirement. But that would be on a case-by-case basis. If it doesn't meet the definition of a short-term rental, then it may meet one of the definitions that is contained within your bylaw, being a tourist accommodation unit, resort, hotel, motel, or something else. But if it is a commercially zoned property that basically has a single family residence or two, and it has been currently operating as a short-term rental, it would now have to meet the principal residence requirement.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
Okay. All in favor? Receipt? Opposed? First reading. B? Sorry, B. Opposed? Nobody? Okay, motion is carried.
I'd like to move that bylaw number 563 be given second reading.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move that a public hearing to consider bylaw number 563 be scheduled for 5 p.m. on Monday, July 8th, 2024 at Manson's Hall, located at 983 Beasley Road, Cortez Island, BC, and that the holding of the public hearing be delegated to the electoral area B director.
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, electoral area C.
The electoral area C short-term rental bylaw number 564, that the report from the CAO be received.
Gesundheit. Discussion? Or do I have a second? Sorry. Oh, Director Lott. Further discussion? Any discussion? No? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B.
That the bylaw number 564, being a bylaw to amend the zoning regulations applicable to Quadra Island, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C,
I will move that bylaw number 564 be given second reading.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D,
I will move that a public hearing to consider bylaw number 564 be scheduled for 6:30 PM on Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, at the Quadra Community Center located at 970 West Road, Quadra Island, BC, and that the holding of the public hearing be delegated to the Electoral Area C Director.
second.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion.
Just a question on procedure, can the mayor who's not in the electoral area, can they second it? Okay.
It's all electoral areas. Oh, it's electoral areas only. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So under the board's procedure bylaw, only a director who has voting entitlement for a motion can make it, the motion, but any director can second it.
Thank you.
Okay, so electoral areas only. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Okay, Director Rice.
Like to move that
Microphone, please.
Sorry. Like to move receipt of bylaw number 565, electoral area D, short-term rentals, that the report from the chief administration officer be received.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Electoral areas only.
Like to move recommendation B, that bylaw number 565, being a bylaw to amend the zoning regulations applicable to Area D, Oyster Bay, Buttle Lake, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C, electoral
Move
areas
recommendation C, that bylaw number 565, be given second reading.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Like to move recommendation D, that a public hearing to consider bylaw number 565 be scheduled for 6 PM on Wednesday, July 10th, 2024, at the Oyster Bay Resort located at 4357 South Island Highway in electoral area D, and that the holding of the public hearing be delegated to the electoral area D director.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, bylaw 566. Cahuse First Nations Fire Protection. The report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Director Wally, Director Von Esch. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move that bylaw number 565, being a bylaw to amend the zoning regulations oh, hang on, I'm in the wrong spot. That's bylaw number 566, being a bylaw to authorize entering into an agreement for the provision of fire protection services on Cortez Island, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. C,
I'd like to move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 566 be given second and third readings.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
I'd like to move
Seeing none, motion's carried.
I'd like to move that bylaw number 566, being Cahuse First Nation Fire Protection Agreement Authorization Bylaw 2024, be reconsidered, finally passed, and adopted.
Director Wally, discussion? Opposed? In favor? See if you guys are staying, if you're still with me. Okay, motion is carried. Correspondence. 1 through 7 be received. Thank you.
I'd like to speak to you, item 6.
Like to pull 6?
1 to 5 and 7.
I'm sorry?
I move we see 1 to 5 and 7.
Thank you.
Second.
Second was Director Lott. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Go ahead, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to schedule a meeting with BC Hydro.
Okay.
Receipt of the item.
Yeah, I'd like to move receipt of the item that the June 5th, 2024 correspondent from BC Hydro regarding a meeting opportunity at the UBCM convention be received.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Go ahead.
As I was mentioning, I would like to schedule a meeting with BC Hydro, and I'm wondering if any other directors would like to be part of that meeting also.
I would.
I'd attend.
Director Sinnott,
If I'm at UBCM, I haven't been told.
Director Vanesh. Anyone else? Director Lott? Okay. I'm sorry?
Can I be a maybe?
I don't think a maybe is what they're looking for here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
There's lots of chairs at those meetings.
yeah. Okey-doke. Motion to receive, we already did all that. So that's already done.
Do we need a vote on Mr. Rice's motion?
On who else goes?
I'm not sure it was a motion.
Yeah, I don't think we need a
think it was a
motion.
motion.
No, I don't, we're good without it.
Okay, recreate tender results.
I would move that the addendum item be considered.
Second.
Director Mooney, discussion.
If I can, Mr. Chair, it's unusual that we bring a report directly from a committee on the same day. However, has high time sensitivity to it because we have tender results and those bid are, they're good till early July. We don't have another meeting till after that date. So we're bringing the motion forward for the board's endorsement. And I don't know if the motion is up there.
I'm trying to refresh the screen, Mr. Chairman. It looks to be quite slow. There we are.
Okay, there we go. If somebody can move that motion.
I'm on the floor that the addendum be considered.
Let's call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And then I would move that the Strathcona Gardens Recreate Project Status report from the CAO be received.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Well, pardon me? B?
I'll make a motion that the chair and corporate officer be authorized to execute a contract with Heather Bray Builders for construction of the Aquatic and Wellness Center at the Strathcona Gardens for $60,763,896.
Second.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Just one question. I thought the amount was different.
It is different. This is for the construction aspect of it. The others are consulting and construction management.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, closed session.
Reports the CEO be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And then I would move that the meeting be closed to the public to consider matters deemed to fall within the parameters of subsections 91E, K, N, and O of the community charter.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And move termination.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Got too
No.
ahead of myself, sorry.
Oh, no termination yet. Closed session. Okay, so do we have everybody that's supposed to be here? Okay.